Scenes from last week's holiday tree lighting at the Post Chapel. Hello and welcome to our Meade Week 2024 Year in Review. I'm Brian Spann. Every year at this time we take a look back at the year that was. Before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to wish you and yours the happiest of holiday seasons. We start in January when Fort Meade was selected as a test site for the new My Army app. Fort Meade is one of several test sites for the My Army app.
Really, we started at AUSA back in October, and within 17 days, basically, we did a lot of research, mainly focused at Fort Cavazos, but trying to figure out what would actually be useful for soldiers and family members.
The National Security Agency has a new director. Air Force General Timothy Hogg assumed command of the National Security Agency, U.S. Cyber Command, and the Central Security Service in ceremonies February 2nd at Fort Meade. The hot topic, upcoming school redistricting.
The school system of 85,000 students that had enrollments that were uneven. The goal is to try to balance those enrollments.
The group over here at TASC has been super helpful, and honestly, they encouraged the high standard of training, which I think Charlie Company's really taken a pride in, is trying to really make the training as professional as possible and lifelike as possible. And the group over at TASC has been bending over backwards to help us with all our trainings.
Anne Arundel County Public Schools announced the 5 finalists for the 2024 Teacher of the Year. One of the finalists is Jesse Bragg, a math teacher at Meade Middle School. Irina from the 2nd Military Working Dog Detachment getting a workout. It was part of a demonstration for 35 members of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization's expert panel on working dogs. The NATO panel is in the National Capital Region for a conference. Maryland's 29th Combat Aviation Brigade providing search and rescue support in the aftermath of the tragic Key Bridge collapse. Hello and welcome to Meade Week. I'm Brian Spann. As a Baltimore resident, I use the Key Bridge almost daily, so I wanted to recognize all those affected by this tragedy and the emergency responders, including the 29th.
So this installation, I understood the importance of it, which is why I had it ranked so high on the places I wanted to be. Because again, to support the warfighter, you got to be at the point of friction, and this is that point of friction when it comes to establishing dominance over our adversaries to continue to support the greatest land fighting force that has ever existed.
We start with the Active Duty Volunteer of the Year, Sergeant John Beasley from the 21st Signal Brigade. He was nominated by the Fort Meade Spouses Club and helped the organization with their biggest events. In other news, Anne Arundel County Transportation started a new shuttle bus service this week that runs between Fort Meade and the Odenton Mark Station. There are 6 stops on the route: the Mark Station, Dissa, Candlewood Suites, the Post Theater, Kimbrough Ambulatory Care Center, and the Office of Personnel Adjudications. The ongoing renovations are adding 28,000 square feet of space and increasing student capacity to more than 2,500. The DoD kicked in close to $115 million of the more than $150 million cost of the project. Anne Arundel County provided close to $30 million.
The Cooper Road widening project will reconstruct Cooper Avenue, connecting the improved intersection at Rockenbach Road to the improved intersection at Mapes Road.
It is important to take the time to celebrate the armed forces, their families, and the civilian communities they serve in, but also to pay tribute to our fallen.
The Army is celebrating 249 years this year. Fort Meade's observance of the Army birthday started with an installation run. Colonel Yolanda Gore took command of U.S. Army Garrison Fort George G. Meade in ceremonies this week at Club Meade. She's the first woman to lead the garrison in Fort Meade's 107-year history. She takes over for outgoing Commander Colonel Michael Sapp.
As we move forward, I pledge to work tirelessly with determination and unity to ensure Fort Meade remains a premier installation.
Fort Meade and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service have teamed up for stream restoration efforts around the installation. Recently, Garrison Commander Colonel Yolanda Gore and Sharon Marino, the Assistant Director for the Wildlife Service's Northeast region, were given a tour of the first restoration project. The stream is located behind the Army Reserve Center on Maryland 175. The project is focusing on the treatment of invasive plant species and the creation of a meadow and a pollinator habitat.
Anyone who's been on Burba Lake knows that sometimes ashore the water is kind of hard to see because of the thick layer of vegetation between the pass and the shore, and a lot of that is invasive.
The final score, Army 52, Navy 8. Indeed, the 25th edition of the game won't be forgotten anytime soon. The win was Army's 7th straight and 8th in the last 9.
That's what that symbol is there with the arch. You're going to walk through there and you're not going to be the same person. But now you got to understand what it means to not be the same person. Because now you're responsible for taking care of soldiers and their families in addition to yourself.